on the word change, right? I think I need to be talked down here. Here to try is Mark Green, president of Air America Media, where I also work. Mark served as the elected public advocate for New York City from 1994 to 2001. That job put him second in line to the mayor in New York City. He's also co-editor of the book, Change for America, a progressive blueprint for the 44th president, which is out this month. Mark, thanks for coming by tonight.
Thank you for having a non-lobbyist like me on your show.
Yes, indeed.
I'm
Had
clean.
to check.
I'm clean.
So talk me down here. I mean, Change for America, your book, this is a step-by-step, office-by-office guide to a progressive presidency. But even the day one decisions by this president about how his administration will work are butting up against the way that things are done in Washington.
Well, for 10 days, one a day, he has ended the gag rule, started to withdraw from Iraq, obviously, ended torture. On here, he has not done 100% of what his campaign pledge was. He didn't take any money from lobbyists, which cost him millions of dollars at a time he didn't know he would end up raising $750 million. His rules are the strictest ever, but they're not 100%. Candidates speak in blanket assertions. No one said, reduce our troops in Iraq by 3%. Gets you nowhere. Bill Clinton said, admit all Haitian refugees as political refugees, and we're going to cut taxes to the middle class. He couldn't do either, he thought, without hurting the country. He backtracked. Barack Obama made his pledge about lobbyists, and some now are in his administration, which is not I don't want to make the perfect the enemy of the good. He's done a lot, but it hasn't been 100%, so long as each time he explains, Rachel, with transparency, why an exception's been made, and should that person recuse him or herself if there's a matter that they worked on before. With those two amendments, I'm not as upset as your introduction.
Well, it's not so much the campaign pledge, having to dial back now that he's actually governing. It's this rule that he set on day one, and if part of his power, part of his great power, part of the great power of any president is the bully pulpit, to change the tone, to say things in Washington are going to run a different way, would he have been better off setting a rule that he didn't have to have a bunch of waivers to, and not having to dilute and sort of make people feel cynical about the message?
My guess is, looking back, is as a candidate and as a president on day one, he could have said, lobbyists will not control my government. They're not. And he wants to avoid, and has avoided, climate change deniers from running policy at EPA. Yeah. Look, Politico and the Washington Post, Rachel, listed people who were lobbyists. They're lobbyists, and they're a lobbyist. They included Melody Barnes. She helped run the Center for American Progress, that she is a not-for-profit advocate for justice who lobbies for a Voting Rights Act, for example. Does not trouble me that she's now the head of domestic policy. Patrick Gaspard now holds the Karl Rove position at the White House. He has spent his life lobbying for women who make $7 an hour tending to the elderly in our as healthcare aides. He worked at a hospital union. That is not the head of someone at ExxonMobil going into the government, maintaining their mentality, and going right back the next day. In fact, Obama...
Couldn't you say, though, that an Exxon lobbyist was lobbying for people who bring needed electrical power and energy sources to an America that... I mean, couldn't you paint a pretty picture of any lobbying effort?
I'm sorry. I come from the not-for-profit world, unfortunately, which includes Air America so far, but we're working on it.
We're only inadvertently nonprofit at Air America.
There is a difference between commercial enterprise and not-for-profit enterprise. So I've been a consumer lobbyist. I was a lobbyist for Congress Watch in Washington, D.C. So the word lobbyist is a four-letter word. I got it. But when you're not-for-profit, you're paid little, and you're not a commercial enterprise, there actually is not a verbal difference, but a qualitative difference. And so if you add up everybody who is technically a lobbyist, it does contradict the purity of his pledge. But when you discount people who lobbied for voting rights or a higher pay for health care,
stricter tobacco rules, yeah.
When Bush had cronies and lobbyists controlling the policies of their industry again and again and again, Barack Obama is 179 degrees different.
You don't have me off the ledge, but you have me like 1 foot on the ledge, 1 foot back in the room. So that's pretty good, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel, for having me.
Mark Green is president of Air America Media. He's the former public advocate for New York City, and he is co-editor of a very useful new book called Change for America.